Hello again. Welcome to Legislative Update. We've got a few things to discuss tonight. The title is going to be The Garage, Pot, and Some Games. So, we finished all the House bills. They're now going over to the Senate. The bills that we passed going over to the Senate. And we are getting Senate bills. I have a hearing on Wednesday for the Senate bills and education. I already did one Senate bill on my bill 2 weeks ago. Anyway, somebody mentioned on the Litchfield What's Up Facebook that I didn't mention the garage in my last update. The reason being, I didn't know really that much about it because I found out about it at the same time most of you found out about it. And it was the update from the previous bill. So anyway, the problem is, luckily, we didn't have to meet in Concord for sessions until mid-February or end of February. But presently, there's a 300-car garage for state reps on Store Street in Concord. The garage was closed all summer. Of course, they were working on it. So those going up there, we had to find other places to park. The legislative office building has some parking spots, so we could park in there as long as it wasn't full. Or they put flags on the meters around the State House so we can park. There weren't that many of us, so it wasn't a problem. The problem is the garage is old and falling down. Like I said, they've been working on it all summer, but every time they do fix something, they find something else. So it's a two-story garage. Well, actually, there's nothing on the first floor. The first floor is actually the street because it's over Store Street. And then there's a second and third. The second floor, stuff is falling from the ceiling onto your cars and stuff. So now they have nets up. But it's old. It's at least 40-some years old. And it's opened. There's no roof or anything, so it's up to the weather. So anyway, it was determined that spending more money on the garage was being a waste of money and time. But I think that should have probably been determined in the summer, and a bill could have been put on to build another one, but I don't make those decisions. But anyway, revenue came in a whole lot higher than predicted. The room and meals tax was a whole lot higher. Business profits tax was a whole lot higher than estimated. So it was decided to build a new garage with some of that money. So the only way they could do that was amend another bill. Unfortunately, it was an education bill, and it was what they call a non-germane amendment, which means they had to have a hearing for it, but anyway, it passed. And then somebody mentioned that the money should have gone to the schools. Well, last year we put $100 million more to the schools. And by the way, the Senate is going to use some of the money that's in the surplus to go to the schools. So that's being taken care of it. But anyway, somebody said, why don't we bond it? That's a waste of money. If you have the money, and say, for example, you win a lottery for like $50,000 or something, and you need repairs in your house, what are you going to do, take out a second mortgage, but you have the money to pay for it now? Come on, that's not be. The problem is why we don't have right now building aid. Enough building aid for the schools that need building, like we're going to need one soon. Because back in '07, it was decided by the majority to take all the building aid payments that were always in the budget to pay the schools for their 30% or 50%, whatever they're going to get for that year's. That was normally in the budget. They decided to bond that, the whole caboodle. Guess what? Now we don't have any building aid because we're paying off that bond. And so we budget like $50, $60 million a year for building aid to go to school. $30 million of that's going to pay off the bond for the next few years. So that's why we don't want to bond unless you have to. Also, for state aid, for schools. Aid is based from the state, is mainly based on the number of students you have in your school. So, and the problem is, look at your taxes. You take your tax bill, divide it by 52. And for example, you're paying at least $100 a week in property taxes. Some are paying a whole lot more. So that's, I think, something you really need to look at. So, and where was everybody voting in March? There weren't that many that could have voted. So you're spending the money. I mean, in your school taxes and by not voting. The most important election we have in this town, not the November election, is the March election. Not the September for the primary, it's your March election. That affects you the most. Okay, so anyway, so just want to cover that. Also, think of this. I've lived in town for 45 years, and I remember when Griffin Memorial was 1 through 8. It wasn't the middle school. But every time now I go by Griffin, like on a school day, they keep having to add to parking. Now, there are less students, there are less grades, but for some reason, the parking lot keeps getting filled more and more. Like, what's all the staff doing at Griffin? I mean, with all those cars and people working there. So I think something needs to look at. Also, public charter schools, which are public schools, they only get, because they don't get any local property taxes, so they only spend about 1/3 of what regular public schools spend per student. And this is taking into consideration special education, which they don't have. So why are we paying so much for education? Something we really need to look at. Anyway, now to the second big topic. It passed. We can, well, at least it passed the House by 13 votes, which is interesting. We're talking about pot or cannabis. See, they don't want to call it marijuana anymore, so let's call it cannabis, and maybe people won't know what we're selling. Anyway, legalizing possession and use of cannabis. This is a long bill, and you can go look at it yourself. A big, gigantic, long bill. You can pull it up, and basically the bill legalizing possession and use of cannabis for persons 21 of age and older. We know how that works with alcohol. Authorize the Liquor Commission to regulate and administer the cultivation, manufacture, testing, and retail sales of cannabis statewide. Authorize alternative treatment centers registered to dispense therapeutic cannabis. Authorize municipality to enact an ordinance. So in other words, if somebody wants to build one in Litchfield, they have to, the town has to get an ordinance approved for that. So nobody can just build it. A control fund and requires funds to be distributed to the Department of Health and Human Services Bureau of Drug and Alcohol Services, Education Tax Relief, Public Safety, Agency Training, and Children's Behavioral Health. I should cover that in a minute. And appropriations, Department of Health and Human Services to create public media and social media campaigns to address some of the risks of cannabis use. So I just want to show you something, because to me this is kind of ridiculous. Where'd it go? Wait a minute. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Bring it up again. Had it all set. No, that's not what I want. So, basically what cannabis is going to be used for, okay, what the revenue is going to be used for. So for example, I have to do this again, I don't know what happened. Hold on, folks. That's what, I had it all prepared and ready to go. But anyway, what's happening here? Anyway, let's cover this. Okay, 50% of the revenue from cannabis is going to be used to go to the Education Trust Fund. So in other words, we're going to sell drugs for aid, more aid to schools. Now, so so let that sink in for a minute. So the problem is, so Johnny sees Daddy smoking a joint and says, "Dad, I thought you said that was bad." He said, "Yeah, but I'm helping the schools." You know, so it's kind of, Anyway, also 30% is going to help the failing state retirement fund because it's low in money. 20%, so that's 80%. Then 10% going to first responder training for how to handle drug stuff. 5% is going to cover Bureau of Drug and Alcohol Services, a cessation program. So in other words, how to stop doing alcohol and other drugs and marijuana that we're selling. I mean, does it make any sense? And another 5% for children behavioral. So in other words, if your kid get hold of it and they have behavior problems, and we know that happens because it's happened in the past in other schools where fourth grade kid, and I can't remember what state it was going to school and selling his mother's stash. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen. Kids get alcohol. They're gonna find, and the problem with this, it's not just smoking, it's the edibles. I mean, it looked like gummy bears and those kind of things. So, I mean, if a kid finds it, they're gonna eat it, just like any other candy. So, like I said, this passed by 13 votes. And you can go online, and we'll bring that up again, and see who voted for it and who voted against. Just to let you know, I voted against it. Because to me, I mean, it's gonna get vetoed anyway, probably by the governor, because he vetoed it last year, and the veto override didn't work. They're making this now look like it's helping the schools. I mean, so we're selling drugs to help the school. Now, the problem is I keep hearing different statistics. Some people say, 70% of the people want it. Somebody else said, 80% of the people want it. And then somebody else is saying, but only 15% of the people use it. So it's kind of hard to figure out. And then there's an argument on, okay. So here's the vote. What was that? Yeah, 169 to 156. 13 votes. Pretty much evenly split between parties. I mean, there's more Republicans, so it was 92 to 83 Republicans, 9 votes. And Democrats were 76 to 73, 3 votes. So, I mean, so it's, it didn't, there are actually more people voting this time. Now, I think it was, February 17th when I had my incident, right before the state address, there was another vote on this bill before it went to the second committee. In this case, it was Ways and Means. In other words, where the money is going to go. And it passed by close to a 2/3 majority. It was a little less, so it still wouldn't have passed a veto if the governor had vetoed it. But so you can do, I remember I showed you this last time, you can go and look at the roll calls, and you can look at the people that voted yes, and then you can look at the people that voted no. Like I said, it was on the Republican side, it was only 9 votes different. The Democrat side, there was 3 votes different. So we have a problem here that So it's evenly split between those that like it, those that don't like it. So to me, it comes out, it's kind of like hypocritical. We're going to sell drugs to help the school system. I mean, yeah, maybe we need more money for the schools, but selling drugs, is that the way to do it? I mean, when I brought up the thing, oh, it's a cessation for helping kids or to get off of drugs and alcohol, well, the alcohol is already going to that, some of the funds, so, but still. So, and also, and I'm talking to addicts and whatnot, alcohol and marijuana are gateway drugs. That's how most of them started. They started with marijuana because they were too young to get alcohol. You can see marijuana is easier. And then they went try to get something higher and higher. So it is, don't let people confuse you. It is a gateway drug, and a lot of addicts will tell you that's where they started. So anyway, if you're for it, fine. If you're not, apparently it's readily available everywhere. So we're going to make money for the schools. To me, it doesn't sound good. Also, now, our next topic is some games that were being played. We had a bill on Ways and Means. It was the regular in finance one of the things that passed is motorcycle learner's permit. In other words, if you fail, you can get another learner's permit, basically, how that works. Then we had the bill. This is the one, there was a problem with this one. 1627, which was establishing Education Freedom Account Administrator in the Department of Education. Well, that passed the first time, but then an amendment was put on it, which is a sort of makes it a privacy issue, but it still passed anyway, but I think in the Senate it might have a problem. So we need the administrator for the EFA. Now, the other problem we had was bill for wait a minute, which one is 1624? I think it was on. Well, one of the problems was it was the bill that they added on the garage to. Some people didn't like that. I didn't like it either, but the way it was done. But the problem is some people said they didn't like it, so they're going to make everybody suffer. So normally, how things work, if we pass a bill, the Senate kills it, or vice versa, then when we get the Senate bill back in the House, their bill, we can add our bill that they failed to their bill to amend it, and then send it back to them, and vice versa. That happens all the time. Now, the Senate does it more often than we do. But so only if it had passed in the Senate or passed the House, then it's game to amend on the other house if they killed it. What happened here, though, we had some people that didn't like the garage, the way it was done, and I didn't either, but they weren't, that's like saying, so if you have a few kids and one kid does bad, you punish all of them. So the point is, what they kept doing is bringing up amendments, more amendments to that bill on bills that we already passed, but the Senate hadn't acted on them yet. So it was like if the Senate got the bill, they would have killed it all, and then we wouldn't have gotten what we really needed. So it kept failing, but they kept over and over and over bringing it up. Bringing up another bill, another amendment. Just really making people mad, And these were done by Republicans, by the way. But they were done by new Republicans that were just elected this year. So somebody was feeding them, playing the game with them. If they were there longer, they probably wouldn't have done it. But somebody, I don't know who, but somebody was egging them on and telling them, hey, why don't we do this. So it was pretty much planned. But it just added another hour to our session, and it was getting to be late. We didn't leave till nearly 6 o'clock. We should have been out like at 3, but it was utterly ridiculous what they were doing, and people were really upset and whatnot. So hopefully, maybe they learned their lesson. And I posted on our Facebook thing is about the gambler. Remember that song? Got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. I think after at least 2 of their amendments failed, that should have been it. They should have known nothing else was going to work, because they failed by big margins. Everybody's seen what was going on, but nothing you can do about it. Except kill them. But the thing is, they should have not brought them up. After 1 or 2, they can see the vote's not going to change no matter what we do. So it was bad. So anyway, now, a little bit on the redistricting problem we have. The House districts for state reps, that's okay. I don't know if that's passed. It passed the Senate and it passed the House. So I don't know if the governor's got it yet or not, but it should be okay. And remember, when I went through this, it was Litchfield. Now we still have our 2 reps and 2 floterials, but this time not with Manchester, which we have with Hudson. So Hudson's going to have 6 reps of their own, Litchfield 2 reps of their own, and 2 floterials that cover Litchfield and Hudson. Now, right now, Hudson has got 11 reps, 7, it's actually because they're with Pelham. Pelham's going to have 4 of their own. So actually it comes down to, they still got to have their 7, okay, but actually 8, and because the 2, it's kind of be hard for somebody from Litchfield to, if they run 2 people in Hudson, it's going to be hard for anybody in Litchfield to win one of those floterials. So that's okay, as long as we have our 2, and that's what we've been fighting for the longest time. So anyway, now on the congressional redistricting, even after in January, February, when this was all set, everybody is going to agree. Even the governor said at that point where he was going to agree. Now he's not. He doesn't like it. But the problem is, that's not fair to all the people that are running for Congress. They don't know what town they're going to be representing. Like, for example, they had the current, the way the redistricting went, it was going to be like Pelham, Hudson, and Litchfield were going to be in CD1. Now that's up in the air. We can still be in CD2. So who should we campaign with? Or who should we endorse? So I've gone out of the way. I've endorsed somebody in 1 and somebody in 2. Because you don't know, and it's not fair to the people, and it's not fair to the people, people that are campaigning. So we don't know what's going to happen. So hopefully, so anyway, okay. So now I'm going to go over some more bills that we passed. There were 2 bills on giving driver's licenses to illegal aliens. No. So those 2 bills failed. Okay. They passed because they were ITL. So in other words, came out of the committee to kill them. So the killing failed. Passed, There was a bill on weighing of vehicles, which was kind of, say, for example, you have a half-ton pickup, and you got 5 200-pounders in driving in that pickup. You already have to wait. You can't put anything in the bed. So anyway, that's sort of. But the problem with that is, a cop stops you and sees that, he can say you have to go to a weighing station, which might be at least 10 miles away. So it's 20 miles out of your way. So that's sort of fixed. So well, look, if you have a problem with that, you can take a look. That was House Bill 1302. So you can see how that's going to work. The speed limit on Lakewood and Paxaki, remember I mentioned that at 1420, that failed. We did that, I don't know how many times, and, okay. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Okay, also, inexpedient to legislate. It was tabled. That was a bill on decriminalizing possession of use of psilocybin mushrooms. So, that's tabled. There was another bill on cooperative school district, which was also tabled, so. Okay, a bill requiring the use of hand-marked durable paper ballots in election. That's already law anyway. I mean, you gotta have a paper ballot, whether or not it's machine readable, or the old type of way. If you small towns still use it, it's just paper. Okay, so that's failed because it's already, we can do it, and that failed by a big margin. It failed to ITL it. Okay, the legislator appointing the Attorney General, like the Secretary of State, and the Secretary, that was ITL. So anyway, legislative term limits for the final one, providing that no person shall serve more than 15 terms in either the House or the Senate. So that's 30 years. There's somebody probably close to that, but come on. The problem is that I don't see that being a problem in the state because we only get made $100 a year. It's not like in Congress where, and there's 400 of us. I mean, there's one for, like Litchfield has 2 of their own, it's like 2.5. So it's not that big of a deal for a state. So anyway, so hopefully we learned some stuff today and have fun, and hopefully see you in a couple of weeks when we start look at some tenant bills. So good evening.